If I had a nickel for every time I read a shifter romance that featured both Christmas and a portent of doom, I would have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another episode of 2 Nickels, the video series where I compare 2 books that are strikingly similar in niche ways. And today, yes, we are diving into shifter romance. The romance where at least one of the couple can turn into an animal and also sometimes has other supernatural powers. Now, I love this subgenre of romance. It is prolific in indie circles and is one of my favorites. And yes, I do love fated mates. And yes, both of these books do involve fated mates. However, I don't really include that as being part of the thing, because fated mates in a shifter romance is by no means niche. It's actually more rare at this point to find a shifter romance that doesn't involve fated mates. And yes, I do love fated mates despite also preferring slow burn romances. Okay, it's a juxtaposition in my head. I get that, but I do love them. These ones that we're talking about today in particular are both shifter romances set around Christmas, aka literally part of the plot happens on Christmas. Although I think for both, it's almost the end of the book, if not the epilogue, when actual Christmas happens. The majority of the story is leading up to the holiday, but also in both of these stories, one of the main couple is doomed in one way or another. Either their literal life as they believe it, or life as they currently know it, is in danger. The blade of Damocles is hanging, and in both cases, this affects the relationship in one way or another, and we're going to talk about it. Now, admittedly, I don't know how much I would recommend both of these books. I definitely like one more than the other. And I know in the last time I was read both of them. They're both great. But in this one, I very clearly have a preference, and I will make that slightly known. So beware of that. This isn't one of those, if you like this, you'll definitely like this situations. This one might be a little bit different. Or maybe you will like both. I don't know. You do you. But let's jump into the first one. Let's start with the book I have a few more critiques for, and then we can end on a more positive note. So, first, we have A Very Berry Christmas Cruise by Ellie Pond. This is theoretically the start of a series, which is my first problem with it, in that this is one of those books where it's the beginning of a series that's come after multiple other series. So even in this first book, there's so many references to other people and other things and past events that it is painfully obvious that you're missing part of the story, and there's other things you should have read first. Now, that's not to say that everyone that does, finish a series, then start a new series based on the old one, it can be done, but it's very tricky to do it in a way that still gives longtime readers that cameo goodness while not making new readers feel like they should have read all those other books first. Now, this is about a witch named Michelle, who from a young age has been prophesied to make a great sacrifice for her coven, which is getting prophecies about them is apparently very commonplace. There's literally a database for it in this world, and she is basically spent her entire life believing that she's gonna die for her coven doing some kind of sacrifice. And as a result, she's decided that she's just never going to fall in love with anyone ever. However, in a previous book, again, she discovers that she actually does have a true mate bear shifter somewhere in the world. But she's like, no, I don't want to meet him. I'm never gonna connect with anyone. And as you discover, in this world, when a shifter finds their true mate, if that true mate then dies, there's basically a widow's disease or a widower's disease, and the other person will also die shortly after. So when she meets said bear shifter, Granger, who has a young daughter, and he realizes that, they're like, no, we can never finalize the bond. And in this case, it's not a case of just meeting each other, just knowing they're true mates. You have to formalize it, which usually in fated shifter mates means sex. And or I guess in this case it's kind of more serious type of thing. But then they discover that there's these scientists that are like, oh, we're trying to see if we can break the bond between fated mates so that, if a mate falls ill, we can break the bond before it like kills the other mate or something. So like, oh, we'll sign up to be guinea pigs because we really want to bang, and this lets us bang without the portent of doom hanging over our head, which seems so risky. Like, okay, fine, whatever. But it does bring up my second issue with this, in that the threat right away doesn't feel like a threat. And it's not going to be insurmountable. Okay, this is a capital R romance, and a capital R romance in the current marketing genre demographic requires a happy ending. We're not having this argument. HEA is required for the genre demographic of capital R romance. Moving on. We knew, going into it, right, that this insurmountable Damocles blade hanging over her head was going to be solved somehow. The problem is that the prophecy from the beginning is so laughably vague that it actually looks weirder that no one stopped to think that there might be a loophole. And what the quote-unquote sacrifice of the prophecy actually refers to is so annoyingly milquetoast, is so obviously just not a thing, not a threat, that you might as well have made a witch character that just had severe anxiety and never wanted to get married because she thought she might die young. Like, that's the level of, there's not an actual real threat. The threat could have been solved if anyone had just stopped to look at the prophecy again. And that's the thing that really frustrated me about this was, if I want a portent of doom in my book, I want a portent of doom. Like, I want hard and fast stakes, okay? Otherwise, the angst and the pining just doesn't, The other struggle I had with this book is, despite the fact that the word Christmas is literally in the title, A Christmas Cruise, there's not a lot of actual Christmasness to be found. Part of the issue is that they're on a cruise, so they're going to tropical places, which you could still add it in. Obviously, people living in tropical places still celebrate holidays of various religions and secular. But, like, they make references to a tree in the lobby, and that's kind of it. There's not a lot of, like, Christmas activities or Christmas hobbies. Like, honestly, in this case, the fact that it happened around Christmas was kind of neither here nor there. You could have taken Christmas out very easily, and the actual day of Christmas isn't really a thing until the very end. So, like, it kind of felt like it was a fun idea, a good concept, very flawed in execution, and I haven't decided if I'm going to try to go back to the very, very beginning of this author's work from the beginning of the cruise line. I do give them credit for the very niche but interesting topic of shifters on cruises as the niche for the entire series. I do think that's amusing. Although I was hoping for more like water-based animals. Like, if you're doing a cruise, wouldn't that be the best time to do more water-based shifters? Regardless, I think, did I give this book 3 stars? I might have. It's been a while since I read it. But let's hop on to our second book, where it happens both at Christmas, but with a portent of doom. The second book is A Mate for the Christmas Dragon by Zoe Chant. This might be from one of my favorite authors. I'm not sure. Zoe Chant is not a single author, but an author collective, all writing under the same pen name. And I haven't hopped on the fan group in a while to double check the list, because there is a lovely little list of which of the Zoes wrote which of the books. And so I don't know if this was from one of my favorite Zoes or one of the Zoes that have been more hit and miss for me. But thankfully, this book was a hit. This is all about a dragon shifter named Jasper that just loves Christmas, just like so much. His birthday is Christmas. He's all about it, has so many traditions, loves it. But Jasper is also cursed. In his family, if you don't find your true mate by the age of 25, you essentially can no longer shift. You have to pick one form to live the rest of your life in, either human or dragon, after your 25th birthday, and that's it. That's all you get. Which, 25? Really, curse? That we really want those young marriages, huh? Because like before, it's not just meeting the person. You have to like meet and fall in love and like complete the bond for it to work. And he meets his beloved, who is new to town, and that's the whole irony is he's been off searching the world for his beloved, and she moved directly into town, just weeks before his birthday, which is Christmas. And this is it. He's got like weeks to convince this woman to fall in love and bond with him, but she doesn't even know that shifters exist. And also, because of course she does, she hates Christmas. She really hates Christmas. Big grump. Has to dress as an elf for her retail job, but she despises it. Like the whole shebang. So it is that classic falling in love by making the Grinch come to love Christmas. And I'm a sucker for it. I don't care how overplayed it is. I will always love it. Although I do also find it interesting in those rare books when they both do love Christmas. But this one has a much more concrete threat, which I liked. Even though 25 is still, way too young to have a curse where you have to find your soulmate by. But regardless, there was a very big looming threat of the end date, and the end date was Christmas, which made Christmas a whole lot more of a bigger deal. And Jasper just loves Christmas. He's a golden retriever dragon shifter who has all of these things that he loves doing around the holidays, all of these traditions, and he wants to show Abigail that this all can be fun, and there are the sleigh rides and the making of crafts and the ice skating and all of it. Like, this is much more Christmassy. Like, it matters this is happening in the holiday season. And he has hard opinions on how to make hot chocolate, like that kind of stuff. It was really, really cute. I loved how earnest Jasper was. And also that he, does not try to like reveal everything to her suddenly and like guilt her into being with him because of this threat of, losing half of himself at the end date. And there's also the, if you try to reveal that you're a shifter, she's probably not going to believe you. But this one was really, really cute. I loved granted, it's so overplayed, but all the moments where he's just trying to get her to love the little things, like a fresh snowfall with hot chocolate and a sleigh ride. Like, so cute. I love it. And, of course, she does start coming around to things. And, in general, this is a pretty stock standard setup for a fated shifter romance, in that the shifter knows, oh, hey, you're my fated mate, but the other person, usually a human, doesn't. And so there's so much pining because like the shifter's already in love with them, but they still have to make the human fall in love with them in return. And it's great. I love the angst. It's part of the reason why fated mates can work as both fated mates and slow burn. It's just one of them was insta love and the other one was slow burn. That's how it works. That's why I like it so much. And I will eventually be continuing with this series. I think it's weird to read a lot of Christmas books outside of the holiday season, but I might. I did enjoy doing a Christmas in July vlog last year, so I might do that again and just read a ton of Christmas shifter romances, because this is a whole series, and do more of that, so I'll actually have more books to actually recommend in lists to people come December, which is always the problem. If I read the books mid-December, I cannot put out the content early December. Regardless, this is the one that I would definitely suggest. I just love earnest characters. I love the true meaning of Christmas stuff. I love all the little Christmas moments within it, and it's just an adorable romance overall. And there we have it, our 2 books featuring Christmas, fated mates, and doom. I just love this premise. I've actually, fun fact, am working on a script for a trope talk involving fated mates or true mates in speculative romances. This might be the year I actually get it out. Can't wait for summer break. Regardless, if you love any of these things, please let me know. Do you like shifter romances, fated mates? Do you like Christmas romances? Have you ever read a Christmas speculative romance? I'm sure there's probably some, I know there's some Christmas monster fucker books, cause Krampus. But regardless, if you know of any more that would fit in here, please let me know. I would love to learn about them, because for all I know, while this is pretty niche, it's not so niche that there couldn't be another book like it, and I love that idea. So if you have it, leave it down in the comments below. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.